brags about the perfect way to dispose of a body. Former prosecutors, now both criminal defense attorneys, Joey Jackson and Richard Portale, join us tonight. All right, guys. The Utah DA says that she didn't have enough evidence against Josh Powell to prove his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Right or wrong, Joey?
Are you kidding? Look, they had more than enough evidence to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Where do I begin? From, first of all, him bragging about him disposing of a body under perfect circumstances and perfect conditions.
Just
to going,
year before.
And to going a 4- and a 2-year-old. Since when do you take a 4- and a 2-year-old out in the dark of night, in the dead of winter camping, and then one of them says to the police, "Mommy was with me, she doesn't come back." There's blood in the house. Her cell phone's found in her car. Her blood is in the house. Her cell phone is found in his car. There's a couch that's stained, that there's a fan blowing up against it. Where do I begin? Should I keep going? It's outrageous.
Yeah. What do you
Should have been arrested and prosecuted.
Richard?
Where did the crime happen? Where did it happen?
Where did the crime happen?
Arizona, Utah, Nevada, perhaps California,
So you're saying
Oregon,
there's no
Idaho.
jurisdiction,
No
maybe?
locus. How do you establish jurisdiction?
You know what?
can't.
I don't care where it happened. She was last seen in Utah.
Was she alive or dead?
Prosecuted. Was she alive or dead? I don't know, but a reasonable assumption. Let me tell you, Richard, you would try this case and you would win it.
Probably.
Yes. All right. So you take it back?
Nope.
Okay. You know, Joey, what you left out? He took her SIM card out of the phone.
Absolutely.
And he lied to the police. He said the reason he didn't return their call is because he didn't have a charger, except he pulls in with a charger, charging the phone. I mean, are these cops incompetent? Forget about the jurisdiction, Richard. Are they incompetent?
I think they could have done more. They could have investigated further, but it's hard to really judge in hindsight the breadth or the depth of the investigation.
Richard, you were a bulldog prosecutor. Don't say that. You know they could have done it. Would you have given them the okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Joey, would you have given him the okay?
Without question. Look, all you need is probable cause. You move forward, you make the arrest,
No,
and then
you
you go
gotta
to the
prove it beyond a
prosecution. Of
reasonable
course
doubt.
you do.
But to blame Utah, I'm not sure is fair. The Washington officials, the Washington prosecutors, they had all that knowledge that the Utah prosecutors had, and they could have done something. They didn't have to seal those warrants. They could have given them to the judge, and they could have made appropriate arrangements for the visitation of those children.
And here's the issue, and that's exactly the issue. The issue is, you know what, whenever, someone gets away with murder, maybe they get away with murder. If he ended up killing himself, all right, he killed himself. But had they done their job, and this is my opinion, had they done their job, this man would have been arrested. These children would not have suffered the violent, brutal murder that he subjected them to. And as far as I'm concerned, this is pathetic. How about the father?
And that's the issue.
Steve
Absolutely.
Powell.
Those children would be alive. In terms of the father, look, he's got problems of his own, as you know, because he's facing those voyeurism charges.
Could he still be charged with the murder?
Of course he can still be.
What do you think?
Never.
And the question is, could he be an accomplice after the fact as well?
Never.
All
I
right.
think there's certain
All right.
involvement with the dad.
Never gonna happen.
Next crime. Shocking new audio tape released in the New Orleans Saints bounty scandal. Take a listen.
We hit Smith right there. Remember me. I got the first one. So lay that mother out. We're going to dominate the line of scrimmage, and we're going to kill the head. Every single one of you, before you get off the pile, affect the head. Early, affect the head. Continue, touch and hit the head.
All right, gentlemen. Is targeting an opposing player for injury a crime?
Absolutely. Listen, this is what I feel about it. I think there are two issues here. One is the administrative issue. He's not going to coach again. That's clear. Gardell's going after him. He should. This is inappropriate.
You're talking about Greg Williams.
Yes, I'm talking about Greg Williams, who said this. There's one thing between saying and motivating your players to play and play well and play forcefully. There's another to intentionally tell them to go and decapitate people, to give them concussions, to make sure their ACLs are done. That is improper. It will be investigated, and without question, there could be a prosecution.
Richard, the NFL already investigated it, and Roger Goodell already said indefinite suspension. I believe it probably should be for life. But don't players put themselves in the zone of danger when they agree to play football?
Well, bounties are against the rules. So I think that if you agree to play NFL football, you're expecting players to stick by the rules and to abide by the rules. So when someone is encouraging a player to go outside the rules and outside the bounds of the rules and take illegal cheap shots like ACL, when Greg Williams said ACL, anterior cruciate ligament,
right,
that lost me. Right away, you're done.
But so, Richard, how do we know that it's metaphorical as opposed to literal? I mean, go in there and kill him.
That's not what he said. He said take his ACL out, and that's different.
Okay.
And that's specific, and that's evidence of what his intent was.
But
to me,
the bounty, gentlemen, it's the bounty. It's when he goes like this. And you know what I think the problem is? And you can answer this. The people who might sue, the football players who were injured by the Saints, might they have a lawsuit against the whole team because the players had to put money in a pool for the bounty that was used to pay off the guys for injury?
I absolutely think they do. There's a couple of things here. First of all, the team as itself needs to control this. This should not be happening, and there should be a captain of a ship who disallows this to occur. So without question, that's true. Real quickly to the point of a zone of danger. Look, the point is that when you play football, you do subject yourself to risk. But when there are heightened risks associated with someone telling somebody else to hurt you, that's a different
10,000 if you take Brett Favre out. I mean, that's bad stuff. Anyway, we asked our Facebook followers what they thought, and here's what they had to say. Alan Patty says, I don't condone his behavior, but criminal charges, a little too much. Ken and Mary Cumston, why is what Greg Williams did as a coach any different than owners paying incentive bonuses for tackles and sacks?
Because one's legal, one's not.
And that's the issue. All right, guys. All right, now, let's take a look at this. You know who that is? That is boxing legend Oscar De La Hoya in fishnets. He may want to stay away from women's undergarments from here on out after a hooker sues him for emotional distress because she says De La Hoya put on her panties during a night of partying and said that she was afraid he would ask her to have sex again. This woman's a hooker. Isn't that what she does? Does this lawsuit make sense?
I think it's a low blow, and I think the judge scored the card right.
By dismissing it, yeah.
By not only dismissing it, by fining her and her attorney $500 each.
And that's the question. All right, you agree, Joey, right? That not that it was a low blow, but that.
I agree.
Okay. I mean, how does a hooker say, I was afraid he was going to ask me for sex, so I was afraid to leave. I suffered stress because
You know
put
what I
on my
like about this,
panties."
though? I think she was counting on a big payday. Why? Because this is embarrassing. And what star wouldn't just pay you hush money, tell you to go away, and it's over? But instead, he fought it, and he won. And the judge, to Rich's point, was upset. He said, this is frivolous. Get it out of here. And you know what? Attorney, as well as client, you're fine.
Yep.
You know what? And I
deserved
think the judge absolutely did the right thing. And you know what I love? He says to the hooker and her lawyer, you're paying the legal fees for De La Hoya.
Right.
And you know what? Good for De La Hoya. What you do by yourself is your business. And she was cashing in, and shame on her. That really was what
Frivolous
you said it was.
lawsuit.
Frivolous lawsuit. Good, gentlemen. All right. Now, this may not be the smartest way to drive, but is it illegal? Recognize that person? The state of Tennessee wants to make it a crime to drive with Fido on your lap. And that's Sir Lancelot on my lap. Anyway, now, let me ask you a question. How different is this? People driving with dogs on their lap. And you can't get people more upset than when it comes to their animals. How different is that than driving with a cell phone, texting, putting on your mascara, Joey, eating a hot dog?
What about your friend? Your partner?
Yeah, well, Joey, answer the question.
Listen, the point is that you can't mess around with man's best friend. That's what's the difference about it. People love their dogs. They carry their dogs. I understand what they're trying to do. They don't want people recklessly driving. They don't want people going on in other lanes and everything else. But to make it a misdemeanor, Judge, for doing this, I think it's a bit much. How about a violation, not a crime?
Yeah, but how many times have you driven by and someone's got a dog on their lap and you say that's so cute? I mean, what is a dog going to do, really, Richard?
It's not cute. They're projectiles. God forbid an accident happens, that dog is a projectile. An 80-pound pit bull, which I have, could go right through the window, could injure somebody inside the vehicle. A child in a car seat could get hurt by a dog as a projectile. It's not a good idea.
And not to mention the dog gets hurt too.
Man's best friend.
But a misdemeanor, a crime for doing this?
Violation.
I mean, you know, a
Should be
violation.
I'm with you.
All right,
100%.
so we'll agree with that.
Agreed.
And you know what I think is interesting, guys? That the legislator who introduced it in Tennessee has rolled it over, so to speak, because there is so much outrage from people saying, I want to drive with my dog on my lap. Anyway.
The government's too involved in our lives.
The government
Stop
needs to
regulating
take a
us.
step
Let us
back.
live.
Yeah.
Well,
Get
you
off
know
our
what?
backs.
My dogs always sit in the back. I look like I'm driving them. Anyway, thanks to Joey Jackson and to Richard
Pleasure.
Portale.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Up next.